Hi, it's Dr. Crenshaw for another video chat from Management 6931, Managing Talent and Culture, Leadership, Engagement, and Performance. Today we are talking about team performance, specifically high-performing teams. All right, so high performance team, right? So high performance teams achieve superior results in pursuit of their mission. For the purposes of today's video chat, that is what we mean by a high performance team, achieving superior results in pursuit of that team's mission. A team of high performing individuals. We've talked about high performing individuals earlier in this class, and we know what it takes to be a high performing individual. But a team filled with high performing individuals does not assume a high performance team, right? You can have a bunch of folks doing great work running off in their own direction. It doesn't make the team high performing. As a leader, you have a responsibility to the individuals on your team and to your organization. And so, how will you manage the talent as it's been entrusted to you? And that's exactly how I think about it. When you're a leader, you have a group of talent, a group of talented people that are entrusted to you. You are a part of a larger team where a mission is entrusted to you. And the question is, what are you going to do as a leader to bring those two things together? Highly talented people to achieve superior performance in the pursuit of your mission. Okay, so let's talk about thinking about performance specifically, right? On your team, on the team that you are leading, or in your organization as a whole, and these are questions that could be asked to your CEO. Also, it doesn't have to be at that high level, right? You can start right on the team that you lead. And you can, if you are not currently leading a team, right? But if you are pursuing this executive MBA because you want to be a leader, these concepts still apply to how you carry out your day-to-day work when you're asked to be an informal leader, or when you put yourself in the position to lead a project or a particular piece of work that is ultimately in pursuit of the mission. What are the consequences on your team for higher or lower employee performance? What is rewarded and what is punished on your team as it relates specifically to performance? We ask ourselves, and this is a topic. This is idea of performance is something that, as the chief people officer, now in third time running. So this is the third time that I've been a chief people officer. I only bring that up to say this is the third time I've had the opportunity to work with an executive team to say, right, how long is it acceptable in our organization to be an average performer? Now, being an average performer is not negative, right? If your company has very high goals for performance, meeting those goals, therefore being average, meeting the goals set for you, being an average performer, that is in no way negative, right? But how long should average be okay, right? Maybe forever, right? There's no right or wrong answer to this. There's only the answer that is true for your team and your organization. So you'd ask yourself, what is true today and what should be true in the future? We want to think about behaviors, right? We've talked in this class about, like we said, individual performance, and we talked about the need to always be changing your behaviors to keep up with what your team needs from you or what is the right fit for your organization. And so, how much do those behaviors matter? And what is the threshold that we start to care, right? So, how much does it matter that each individual on your team is the right fit from a strategy and a change perspective, for example, right? How much does it matter that their behaviors are in keeping with the values that you've set forth as a company? Again, in some companies and in some positions, this matters greatly. In other companies and other positions, not so much, right? We think about lots of organizations out there like DoorDash, Uber, right? Where these are 1099 contractors. right? How much does the company involve themselves in the behaviors and the values of those individuals meeting what they say is true of the company at large, right? They're probably, again, the threshold is different, right? There are certainly some very specific things that matter, right? They do background checks, right? They care about, the certain thresholds of behavior, but then there are certain points where they're not able to care about as much. So to what extent do a manager's behaviors influence their career progress and compensation? How much should they in the future, right? Again, we ask ourselves, how much do these behaviors matter, and how do we choose to address it? Probably one of my favorites to talk about because it is so rarely talked about, right? How do we differentiate talent? I attached an article for you guys to read in the course module. And it spoke specifically about, for example, you need differentiation in order to determine where you spend your talent dollars, right? No organization has unending talent dollars or unending resources at all. And so there are budgets. There are budgets for learning and development. There are budgets for opportunities to grow your people. How do you determine the way you spend that budget if you don't differentiate on performance, if you don't differentiate your high performing talent, your high potential talent, right? So how should we allocate our company's resources and rewards across the varying levels of performance and potential? Who do we invest in, right? And, again, lots of science out there to say that people are only going to move just so much in their development and performance, right? So if you invest all your dollars in the lower performers to try to get them up to average, is that really the best use of your company's resources? Or do you want to invest your development dollars in your high performing, high potential employees because they are likely to move the ball forward in your organization? So how much more in compared to the average potential leader, right? And what should this difference be in the future? What are you doing now? And what should the difference be in the future? And then there's a whole conversation around transparency. How open should we be with employees about their performance and their potential to advance in our organization? I, for one, believe in almost complete transparency. It can be dangerous, right? What if you meet with an average performer who is critically important to your operation? Like, you've put yourself in a situation where only this person knows how to operate that process, that machine. Only they know how to get this report done. And it's a report that is critically important to your client, right? You've put yourself in a situation as a manager where you are dependent on this person. And look, they're an average performer. There is nothing wrong with their performance. They set goals, they reach goals. They are average, they are showing up, they are doing the work you need them to do. But they are not high performing. They are not overachieving on the goals. They are not high potential. You don't see them leading a whole team of people doing what they're doing, right? Again, not that it's negative, just that it's true. And so if you meet with them and you say, I don't see you growing here. I don't see you becoming a leader in this organization. You run the risk of them wanting to leave and go find a better fit, right? If their goal is to be a leader and you're telling them that that's not a good fit for them in your organization, you're running a risk, right? Now, don't we want to be authentic? Don't we want to have candor, right? Of course, kindness, of course, caring candor, but nonetheless, transparency. Not everybody agrees with me on this. I will tell you again, having worked with several executive teams, several board of directors, I would say there's a varying degree of transparency on this topic. In some cases, very opaque. you don't talk about it at all. It's only talked about at the very highest levels in the organization, and then some much more transparent. If you want to see some examples of just how this works, you can go back and look at some of the history of GE and Jack Welch and how their entire talent management process, right? Really interesting reading, really interesting research. Go back and take a look at some of the learning and development programs that they did at Crotonville. Just really intriguing stuff, and maybe great fodder for papers later in your executive MBA journey. All right, accountability. As you're considering your talent philosophy as a leader, right? To what extent should you as a manager be responsible for developing and managing the team that reports to you? When should there be this broader, bigger group in human resources or at the executive level responsible for that? And when should it be the individual managers? I think there's a balance. I think every manager is responsible to a degree to help develop the people that are working for them. And then I think there's also a certain amount of programs and development opportunities that should be offered by the organization on a broader scale. So asking yourself today, right, in your organization, how accountable are managers to build the quality and depth of their teams? And do you agree with that? Or do you think it should be different in the future? Well, I hope that you have enjoyed this talk. It leads us back to where we started, and one of the shorter video chats of this course, but I think it's a great wrap up for us, right? Just to think about, right? Everything that we've talked about throughout the duration, considering psychological safety, considering all the different leadership styles, considering how our culture and hybrid workforces, individual high performance, and now team high performance, right? Reminding us that high performance teams achieve superior results in the pursuit of their mission. How will you manage the talent that's been entrusted to you? How will you do that now? And how will you do that in the future? Thank you for spending time with me in Management 6931. It has been a pleasure for me, and I hope for you.